In the latest episode of The Business of Creators, I speak with Saurabh Shah, the CEO of creative merchandise designer Warren James.
We incubate brands and develop premium merchandise for the world's biggest content creators.
From cereal brands to custom basketball hoops, discover how creators are pushing beyond basic merch to build lasting brands.
So yeah, we do t-shirts, hoodies, but we also do cool plush, toys. We've done food and beverage products and a bunch of other categories.
We discuss how Warren James selects which creators to work with and the art and science behind predicting merchandise success.
Fans are clamoring for merch. Like, they want a chance to wear or express their love for the creator through physical products.
Welcome to a new series called Creator Commerce. Before we get started, I want to tell you about a stellar way to level up how you do commerce, starting with the domain name you share. Amazing creator merch from Warren James tells a story of quality and creativity, but to capitalize on that, you need a web address that converts. .store domain names do just that. With an intuitive domain name like yourname.store, you receive a sleek, commerce-focused URL, a custom web address that clearly signals to your audience, this is my store, regardless of which platform powers your site. And you can get up to 2 times increased organic reach and nearly 90% more clicks with a branded link that stays the same even if you change platforms in the future. Top creators like Dude Perfect have chosen .store to elevate their website address, and you can secure your .store domain name today at the link in this description. Okay, great then. So welcome to the podcast, and let's just jump straight into it. Can you tell us who are Warren James?
Yeah, definitely. So, we incubate brands and develop premium merchandise for the world's biggest content creators. So we work with creators like Mythical, Hassan Piker, Brittany, Broski, Pay Money Wubby, Crew District, CallMeChris, Dog, many, many more. But we're very selective about who we work with, given that we want to make sure that we provide the care and attention for each creator. And we're professionals in diversifying a creator's revenue. So we want to make sure they go outside of just content and extend their IP onto physical products. And we go outside of what we would call a typical merchandise category. So yeah, we do t-shirts, hoodies, but we also do cool plush toys. We also have launched comics through our division at Bad Egg. We've done food and beverage products and a bunch of other categories. This really helps people extend their reach to their fans. And we're aiming to go beyond print on demand or basic screen printing, and really create like custom cut and sew apparel, plush toys, all the things that I kind of mentioned, to really separate ourselves from most of the people that are in the market today.
And you talked about that selection. What are the key factors that you're looking at when you're looking for a creator as potentially creating products for them?
Yeah, given that we do work with so few, the first indication that's the easiest is if the creator's done previous merchandise sales. We'll use that kind of as the starting point. And then if not, which many of them don't, it's 50-50 science art. For the 50% science, we've developed a proprietary model that takes into account a creator's viewership data with a bunch of specific metrics, the category of content on YouTube or Twitch engagement, and then also off YouTube platform data like community engagement on Discord, Reddit. So we'll put that into a model, and that'll actually spit out a number on what we actually think the estimated revenue is going to be for that creator, or how much they're going to get in merch sales. And then for the 50% art side of it, that is, we'll look at how well a creator promotes brand partnerships, or how have they pushed any other partnership, because that selling aspect, as you probably know, is like, that's the most critical for a creator seeing success. Are the fans excited when the creator gets excited? And if they're just kind of saying like, oh, hey, I just made this merch, go and buy it, versus like really promoting and say, look at the intricacy of this, let me walk you through the website. That is what will end up creating that kind of fervor with the fans too.
Yeah, no, I've definitely got the scars from creating products for some of the creators in my previous company, The Social Store, and just not selling through. It's a very competitive space. How does Warren James differentiate itself from some of the other players?
Yeah, definitely, especially because the space has, I think, in some areas definitely become more commoditized. We end up separating ourselves, and this is what we tell creators, like number one, we have the best creative. So from a theme standpoint, we're going deep into content. We're looking at community forums. We'll dive into the content, sometimes even using AI to understand what themes might be and what are kind of people picking up on. And then we want each collection, we usually do 3 to 4 collections per year. We want each collection to tell some kind of story and be connected to the content for that creator. So like with Moist Critical, we each collection is a reflection of some piece of content, and he's got this love for basketball. So we developed like an entire basketball related theme where one of the unique products that we put up was a basketball hoop. And that's kind of the second point, is like we're actually developing a unique product. And so this is a home basketball hoop that you kind of like drill into the wall. And it's a really great little setup that goes beyond the kind of like rinky dink plastic hoop that you might have. So for unique product, actually, another example of that was with Brittany Broski. We launched Muumuus. These are like full length nightgowns that people would wear. So she came to us with this idea around like, hey, my grandma wore this. I feel like my fans would kind of like this too. So we were like, is our audience really going to wear a muumuu? But she actually helped to create the demand because she was like, this is a really cool, interesting, unique apparel item. And so we replicated the product from her grandmother that was 40 years old. She kind of gave this to us. She was like, hey, can you guys make this? And we're like, all right, let's try and see what we can do. And we made it in a bunch of colors with the spin that kind of made it unique. We've done a bunch of unique product like Magic 8 balls, light boxes. And so product innovation is kind of very critical to what we do. The third is the go-to-market strategy. So this will be, how are we working with the creator on going to market? We're not just going to be like, hey, here's this stuff. Hey, you should really push it. We actually lay out the 2 weeks leading up to the launch and then during the launch as well as after, to say, here's what you can do to tease it. Here's when we're going to send out email, SMS. Here's what the website is going to look like. Here's how you can create a really cool viral moment beyond what you're kind of doing on the day to day. And then we'll circle back with the creator. Hey, here's what worked, what didn't, what we can learn for the next launch. And that has really helped us, because then the creator gets excited about like, oh, hey, like this launch did better than that one. These are the products that worked really well. Or this is the theme that worked really well. This maybe like the white color t-shirt didn't work, but the black one did. Let's see why. So that kind of like post-mortem really helps us too in terms of talking to the creator and launching the next one too.
Got it. And when people talk about products, they think of like hoodies and t-shirts, but you've also branched out into food and beverages as well. How's that
Yeah.
panned out?
It's awesome. I mean, we've done, our probably biggest one that we did was with Good Mythical Morning, or Mythical. That one we basically launched a cereal product. So the brand is called Mishmash, and that ended up being covered by a bunch of different publications, including like IMS Top 10 Influencer Founded Food Products. I think we have had it got covered in some mainstream as well. So that one was building out an actual brand. So most will end up kind of like shortcut their way there. They'll slap their name on an existing product and kind of claim it as their own. With Mythical, we actually innovated in the space. We created this like hyper indulgent, unique cereal flavor. It's a nostalgic brand with Mishmash, and it elevated the product even more. Each shape was very unique. Like Sweet Mac and Mellow, we actually developed a custom macaroni shape that was the first in the market for cereal, and it was very complicated to do it. And peanut butter and honey sandwich. So that launch did extremely well. We're determining what we do with this next in terms of going into retail now, since that was a direct to consumer launch. So we're trying to figure out how do we kind of tiptoe our way into the retail side too.
And how do you think about pricing strategy with creator products? Because there's always like a race to the bottom with, again, the basic things like t-shirts and hoodies. But when it comes to these more innovative products, it must be harder, right?
It is. For the normal products, right? Like we have a standard range for each of our items, and then depending on the complexity of the item or how the audience looks like, right? So for younger audiences, we obviously don't want too high of price, and vice versa. For new items that we're introducing into the market, usually there will be some kind of comp that we can end up pointing to, and then with the creator, we'll actually interview the audience or survey the audience to get a sense of where they're at, and that'll help set the price accordingly too. And then sometimes we'll even launch what we're like a pseudo kind of Kickstarter campaign. So we see how popular is a specific product on their actual D2C site. And then based on the feedback that we get, we usually won't do the innovative product right out of the gate. We want to get a sense of where pricing sensitivity is with an initial launch, typical products, t-shirt, hoodies, and then we'll launch some more of the innovative ones. And then on top of that, we'll use like bundles, gift with purchase, during promotional periods like Black Friday coming up, we'll do discounts there too. So it'll just depend on both the audience, complexity of the product, newness of it. And then we also have sold, 2 million plus items, 3 million plus items by this point. That set of data will always go into determining what pricing and sensitivity looks like too.
Got it. And the product development process, you've shared a couple of examples there. It sounds pretty intense from a creator perspective. I guess sometimes they're more involved than others. How do you tend to navigate them through that?
Yeah, that one is it's the fun part of the job, and also it's the hardest part of the job too. So, I mean, from the beginning, we'll use a surveying with the actual audience and be like, hey, these are the kinds of products that we're thinking about. This is kind of aesthetic. We'll get some initial feedback. That is a data point. We have phenomenal creative people that we have at Warren James, and so they'll kind of look at that and come up with a mood board. We'll come up with a line plan with specific products for the creator. And then we'll go into deep creative by product. And that's where we'll work with the creator. Hey, we're thinking about this mood board for this coming launch where we're going to do, as a for instance, with Pay Money Webby, this is kind of a one that we did previously. It's related to his content, so forgive the sensitive ears. It's called Butthole Depression was the name of the collection, and it's kind of tied to some of the content. It's got this funny theme around it. And we pitched, here's what the kind of aesthetic will look like, here's the content that it ties to, and then the line plan in it. We also suggested having a blow up doll that had strategically placed things on it, and it worked out really well. It ended up creating like a viral moment, which I'll talk about. But like when we're pitching that, we end up talking through it. Hey, here's what we think will work and what won't. And then after that, we'll actually source these with our manufacturers to get to a solid product. So we sourced a bunch of different blow up dolls. We got to make sure it looks kind of the way that we wanted to for our vision. And then in that sampling process, we're working with the creator on getting feedback. So this one was with Pay Money Webby. So we're like sending, not only the t-shirts and stuff, but we're sending them a blow up doll. And then we're getting to a defined sample for the photo shoot. It takes 3 to 5 months, maybe even longer than that, end to end on getting to a pretty solid point. And it's more just a matter of like, are we getting definitive feedback from the creator versus the, kind of like, I'll know it when I see it. So that's where we just have to really work with the creator and be like, hey, what you mean by this, does it look like this or this? So we're able to actually get to a pretty solid point because we now have so many reps in with it. But it is definitely the hardest part of the job.
And what about the naming of products and brands and even just the domain name? Is that something
Yeah.
you're responsible for, something that the creator's responsible for? Again, does it vary case by case?
It's definitely a collaboration. So, I mean, like with the creator, we're always leveraging what their content is, and we're making sure that it's funny. It's got a bunch of folklore. So if it's kind of a new entity or a brand that we're creating, so for instance, for like CallMeChris, her merch line is called Otto, which is named after her grandmother. And that was something that she kind of brought to us. And then when we're launching each of these products, we'll end up kind of adding our Warren James sizzle to it. We'll be like, oh, here, these pitches based on what we want the brand names to be for the actual products. And that's where we'll leverage a lot of their content. And then we'll work with the creator. Sometimes they're like, oh, I want to be involved in some of the naming. And we even do all the way down to like the email, the SMS. We want to make sure that's in the creator's voice. with their funny photo, and it has a look and feel that feels like them, like the fans are being able to talk to the creator and vice versa. So that's where we leverage the creator and make sure that like here's our take, but we want to make sure that they vet it too.
And in terms of distribution, are you predominantly focused on sort of direct to consumer websites, or you think you focus on retail as well? How do you expect that to kind of evolve?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're definitely focused on the direct to consumer side, but we have more and more that we're doing into retail. We've done projects with Spencer's. We're going to be launching projects soon with other specialty retailers. And hopefully by the end of next year, we'll see stuff in mass as well. So we do expect that to take a significant chunk of what we want the distribution to look like, just so more people have eyeballs around it. I mean, still, 80% of commerce is still done in store, surprisingly, even though we're still in these times. So that'll really unlock additional fans that kind of get access to the product too.
I think typically younger fans as well, maybe with their parents in superstores and stuff. Best the power.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. You get the tug factor, especially if you're looking at like younger audiences and plush, like you're mentioning. And then there's those like, here's $40, you can go and buy, a t-shirt or something like that. So you get that aspect as opposed to like having to go to a website and whatnot. So we already saw success. Like the projects that we've launched in Spencer's actually did really well and ended up unlocking new fans for the creators, because usually the stuff that we're creating ideally has appeal outside of just the fan base. So right, I mean, some of the stuff that you even see with like Dan Duncan, we don't work with him directly, but the t-shirts are funny. They kind of live on their own. We want that kind of appeal to happen outside of the creator's core audience.
And biggest challenges that you've encountered sort of with different creative businesses and products?
Yeah, the challenge is probably going to be what we mentioned before around the feedback side, right? So it's that like kind of indecisiveness, and we'll steer the creator using our expertise in the right direction. We occasionally get the creator who doesn't want to launch because they feel like they're pitching their fans too much. And at the end of it, like fans are clamoring for merch. Like they want a representation, they want a chance to wear or express their love for the creator through physical products. So that's where we had to like talk to them and be like, you're not actually just hawking merch. You're creating something that is like a brand identity to you. So those will generally be it, the feedback and creators not wanting to launch side.
Yeah. And how are you gauging sort of the size of the order? Do you do it with a pre-order, or sometimes you're
Mhm.
just using the data and the analytics to try and understand how big a sale might be?
A combination of both. So we'll generally, for creators that we've worked with, we will end up doing some level of an inventory buy just so we have some products that we can start shipping, and then we'll flip into a back order so that we don't end up capping sales. For new creators that we haven't worked with and don't have previous sales merchandise or sales data, we'll do a pure pre-order. And then if we want the product to live on the website, then we'll use some calculations to say how many weeks of supply do we want? How long do we want this to be staying on the site? Because there are some products that live outside of the launch. So for CallMeChris, the one that I was mentioning earlier, products that are going to continue to live on because they are so popular. And her videos actually hit quite often, right? Like she's doing TikTok videos and linking in the bio. So people are consistently coming back to the website to find product too.
Yeah. And what about sustainability and the environmental impact? How does that come into sort of the decisions you're making around product selection?
Yeah. So tied to what you just mentioned, right? So we primarily do pre-order, made to order. So we don't want leftover inventory. So that is kind of like one aspect of the footprint. We're doing our best in terms of our own supply chain. So for instance, we're using like compostable packaging for all packages that go out. So we're doing our best in what is largely an environment where there's going to be some waste. We do our best to try to like pick accordingly. The factories and sourcing manufacturers that we choose, we actually double check them for things like sustainability. And we actually have a full team. We have a team of over 20 people in China that are working with factories and determining, which ones are best in terms of sustainability, quality, all of that as well. And then on the other side, with even like Hassan, he wanted to do union made and US made products. So that is like, if there's that request comes in, we'll make that a part of it. And in sourcing that, we'll also make sure there's a level of sustainability as well.
Got it. That's really great to hear. I worked at Disney and they were very tight on that. And it's good to hear it's sort of flowing its way through into the creator economy
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, right. They're very strict about like who they work with, right? Like for Disney, they want to make sure that the end factor is going to be a good one. So it has to end up being the case, especially as we continue in this environment too.
Yeah, yeah. And you've given some great examples. What would you say is the most surprising collaboration or product that you've launched?
The probably the most surprising, innovative, the the mishmash side was probably the most innovative, right? So the cereal brand was probably that, in terms of our ability to create something that is an entirely new category. I think the other piece is our other division within comic books. So with Bad Egg, we started this with Moist Critical on some of his properties, Godslap and Plague Seeker. We just launched one with Jacksepticeye some time ago called Alterverse. With Viva La Dirt League, we just made one, Epic Hero Man. So that entire piece around like us entering into the comic book space, I think was very unique and new. And these books have done awesome. Like it's such a unique way for a creator to take content and put this into a different format for people. And we actually have a team of artists, editors, writers, led by an awesome team on our end too, to develop these storylines and actually put those out in the market. So that one I think has been the coolest because there's this like really cool physical aspect of like a story that the creator's even more proud of because it is come from some of the ideas that they have, an extension of their content and making this happen. Godslap, for instance, was like Moist Critical would watch Russian contests of people slapping each other. And then that's how his first book was born, was like this content that he would do reactionary wise. And then it turned into a comic book.
I love it. And are you always focused on the physical products or do you ever consider digital products?
We haven't done too much digital stuff yet. We'll do like digital wallpapers, like free add-ons and things like that, but we haven't done like Web3 NFTs and all that. If we do end up doing subscription products, it'll still have some physical component to it. So we're doing like a monthly publication for a cooking creator. But we generally stay away from the digital side. Have you seen that? Have you seen that work pretty well with others that have launched stuff, especially outside of like call it Kajabi or learning or kind of learning course studios things?
I mean, we've really focused on courses and seeing
Right.
huge revenues there. I mean, it's
Right.
fascinating how much Kajabi and Teachable creators can earn. I'm not sure whether it's a bit of a bubble that might burst, but at the moment, it's really fascinating, and we're exploring that from a electrified perspective.
Very
It's been
cool.
really great to learn about the business and some of the work you're doing. Before we wrap up, what advice would you give to creators thinking about launching merchandise?
Yeah, especially if it's a new creator, right? So obviously it's going to be, hey, if you're big, come to us. We'll obviously be able to help you with our white glove solution. For smaller creators that are launching on platforms like Shopify or Fourth Wall, I think it's very much relevant to develop something that's relevant to your content and audience. The biggest unlock here is that's often different than who you are as a creator. So like really think about the audience first. Sometimes there's this notion of like, hey, I'm this like 23-year-old creator that's doing this kind of live vloggy content. I probably have a 23-year-old audience. Oftentimes you have a 10-year-old audience or a 12-year-old audience, and knowing who that is. And you can do that via surveys or otherwise, and it's pretty simple to launch. The aesthetic that is combined with that is imperative. So like we launched Yes Chef with Cassie Young. She owns that as actually as a trademark. And she's a boss chef creator. And her fans, like on all the comments, you see like how this aesthetic feels so true to her. And so I think as you're developing the creative for your line, making sure that that connection is happening and it's not just like a slap logo or anything like that. And then outside of normal apparel, think about like a unique item that can really set your merch apart, whatever it is that's unique to you. And you can generally find some of those products, whether it's like on Alibaba or other sourcing, you can probably find a way to be able to launch that. And that way it's something that kind of ties your whole collection together. And then don't be afraid to really push the product. Like don't be shy about it. The fans are going to get excited when you're excited about it, and as long as you do it in a classy way that feels organic, it's only going to work. It's only going to work well.
Amazing. Very wise words there. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been great to learn about it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Excellent.